Okay, the title of my presentation is The Mythical Bird Garuda and His Contextual Appearance in the Temple Sculptures of Kerala. First, I will just give a brief about how Garuda is presented in the literature. Originally, the sun conceived as the bird is known as Garuda. That reference is seen in Rig Veda. In Shatapatha Brahmana, Garuda is treated as the personification of courage. Garuda is the mantras of the Veda, which travel with the speed of light from one world to the another. He personifies world knowledge. In Mahabharata and Puranas, the mythology behind the birth of Garuda is given, and the life of Garuda also is given. The myth behind Garuda is the offspring of the sage Kashyapa and Vinata. He was hatched from an enormous egg 500 years after his mother laid him. And it also gives information about Garuda's enmity with the Nagas, the flight of Garuda to get Amrita from gods, to get his mother free from the bondage of Kadru, his stepmother, getting boon of immortality from Vishnu, and he becoming the carrier of celestial vehicle of Vishnu, he getting the position himself above Vishnu's head atop the flag's pole, Dwaja. So these all kind of stories or that references are there in Mahabharata and different Puranas. Now moving on to the iconography of Garuda, there are different texts which gives the description of Garuda. For example, in Sri Tattvanidhi, Garuda is described as a stout person, stout in the legs and knees, and his face and body is like that of a human. He is with a prominently raised and pointed nose. His two hands are held in Anjali pose. Shilparatna says that he should be presented with golden yellow color from feet to knees, snow white color from knees to the navel, scarlet from navel to neck, jet black from neck to the head. His eyes are in the color of yellow and the beak blue, the two hands of which one is in Abhaya pose. At somewhere else in Shilparatna, he is presented as an 8-handed Garuda with his 6 hands holding Amrita, Kumbha, Gada, Shanka, Chakra, Khadga, and Sarpa, and the other held in Adi pose. Agni Purana agrees with the description given in the Shilparatna, but it has given some additions also. It says that he should be shown with a peaceful expression, blue beak, serpents as ornaments, and with broad wings. So these features mentioned in Agni Purana, like the serpents as ornaments and with broad wings, these are seen in the sculptural art also. Now in the Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, Garuda is mentioned with a round face and eyes, nose like that of Kaushika flower, legs like that of vulture, and he should have 4 hands, one carrying a chatra and another the pot of Amrita, and the rest two folded in supplication. There are many names and epithets to Garuda, which gives the characteristic features of Garuda and the color of Garuda, some of the features of Garuda. For example, Suparna with white feather, Sitanana white-faced, Raktapaksha red-winged, Shweta Rohita white and red, Suparnakaya golden-bodied, Tarashwin the swift one, Rasyona who moves like quicksilver, Kamachari who goes where he is wished, Kamayus who lives at pleasure. Then some characters are very much explicit in the names like Nagantaka, Pannaga Nashana, that means the destroyer of serpents, Sarparati, enemy of the serpents, Surendrajit, vanquisher of Indra, Vagrajit, subduer of the thunderbolt. Then there are names like Garutman, chief of birds, Gaganeshwara, the lord of the sky, Kayeshwara, king of birds. So these are some of the names and epithets which gives the character or the features of Garuda. Now coming to the sculptures, in my presentation, initially I will give that how the Garuda is presented in the northern and southern India. And in the second part, I will concentrate on his depiction in Kerala sculptures. In Hindu and Buddhist architecture, especially on the stupas, ritual flagpoles, and above the Torana doorways, he started getting appearance. This happened around 2nd century BC. These are some of the examples. This is from Sanchi. Here you can see Garuda in the form of a bird. Amravati Stupa, again, a bird with wings. But you can notice the presentation of a snake here in both the cases. So the enmity of Garuda with that of the snakes are seen in the earlier presentations as well. Garuda, the Japil or the Besnagar pillar, that also has got the representation of Garuda on the top. This is from Bharut. You see on that flag pole, the representation of Garuda with wings. This is another kind of representation that with a human body, you can see the wings, upward wings. Garuda is seen along with Vishnu around 5th to 6th century. This is the representation from the Dashavatara temple Diyoga, representation of the Gajendra Moksha. You can see Vishnu on Garuda, Garuda with the wings and human body. Garuda is seen sometimes along with the Adimurti. You can see Garuda sitting below in Anjali Mudra as a devotee of the god Vishnu. This is the same depiction that you can see he as a stout person as seen in some of the iconographical texts with the wings, a short wings. This standing Garuda in the human form with wings are seen in or that around 6th century CE. This is from Badami. Now, Garuda in sculptures as the Vahana of Vishnu started appearing in 5th to 6th century. This is an example of a 5th century terracotta plaque, which is placed in Brooklyn Museum. You can see Vishnu with the conch riding the Garuda. The wings of the Garuda is very much visible here. And this is seen in the later period also, Garuda, Vishnu riding Garuda. And you can see the representation of snakes here in this panel. Huge snakes, and the tail of the snakes are carried by or held by Garuda. Garuda with serpents appeared on Hindu Toranas by 7th, 8th century as a very common feature. These are some of the examples from Aihor. And in mythological narrations, Garuda started appearing around 12th century, like his own mythology, like his birth and his the life, his travel to get the Amrita, and some other mythologies connected with Garuda are seen around or the started appearing 12th century CE. And he is also seen along with Vishnu in the mythologies related to Vishnu. So these are some of the examples, which is I have taken from the Hoysala Piri. This is from the south, the Tirukurungudi Chambal Tirunalveli. These are some of the episodes which is connected with the Garuda itself. Garuda taking the elephant and the tortoise, who are actually the sages Vibhasu and Supratika. So that story is that this happened on his way to get the Amrita from the heaven. So these kind of stories are seen started getting in representation from 12th century onwards. This is a later representation. Now, in brief, in the early sculptures, we see Garuda as a bird. In the Gupta period, we started getting Garuda in human form with the wings. A complete human being with a pair of wings continued after the Gupta period, but with stylistic variations. You may see that variations in the depiction of the wings and the way the human body is represented. Human with wings sweeping up from the shoulders and with short legs below. These kind of sculptures are seen in the Eastern India between 6th and 8th centuries. The disappearance of bird form the major kind of bird forms and the dominance of human form started from medieval period onwards, around 8th, 9th century CE. They became merely winged human or complete human, giving a suggestion of flight in the later period. You can see that the narrative representations of Garuda in mythology from 12th century CE. Now, coming to the Garuda sculptures in the temples of Kerala, Garuda is seen as individual sculptures in standing or sitting postures, as Tanaga or the asana. Garuda is seen along with Vishnu as Vahana of Vishnu and in mythological narration. In different contexts, in different mythologies, Garuda is seen. We will see that also. These are some of the examples of the Sthanaka Garuda. He is individually presented. In all these, the representations, he is shown in the human form with the wings and always two-handed in Anjali Mudra. You can see that the variations or the differences seen in the attire and the way of presentation of the wings, how differently the wings are represented. Sometimes it will be like horizontally represented, or it's like a closed wings here. And there are variations in the representation of the facial features also. Here, just a little bit of protruding lip is shown to represent the bird character or the bird feature. But here, he has got a very prominent beak. In these two, you can notice the prominent beak. Some Garuda sculptures are presented with 4 hands like this one. This is from Suchintram Sthanunath Swami temple, which is located in that erstwhile Travancore. You can see that lower 2 hands are in Anjali Mudra, while the upper 2 hands hold the chakra and shankha. In this sculpture, instead of the hands, he is presented with 2 hands, but you can see shankha and chakra on the wings. Here too, a prominent protruding nose, and you can see that the protruding canines also in this sculpture. Garuda with Nagas are also seen in the sculptures, sometimes like this, as he holding the snakes. Snakes are considered as the enemies of the Garuda. And sometimes he is represented as wearing the Nagas as kundala. You can see here, he's wearing kundala, and you can see another small snake in his mouth. And he wears the snakes as the garland, as Keyura, Kankana, and Katisudra. So the Nagas are the attire, as the attire of the Garuda. You can see that how the wings are presented, wings and tails are presented very stylistically, beautifully. These are some examples of the Garuda with sitting posture. In all these 3 cases, he is shown in Alidhasana posture. 2-handed again in Anjali Mudra. The variations are seen in the representation or the bird features shown on the face and kind of the attire, the kirida and the drapery he's wearing. Here he's shown as sitting on a mountain. Mountain is represented with layers of boulders. And in the previous one, we have seen Garuda seated in Alidha posture. There are some rare cases where you can see he seated in Padmasana with folded hands. So this is an example of that. Mainly, you see this kind of representation, the Garuda in Padmasana posture in wooden sculptures. These Garuda sculptures are seen on the pillars and on the panels of the Sri Kovil, and in that the panels on different mandapas. So these are still other representations. The Garuda is presented as flying. You can see that the motion or the flying is represented or that is implicated in the way of the presentation of the wings like this one, or just the hands, outstretched hands in the flying posture. And just to see here, and also that hand or the legs posture. So this is how he is presented in flying postures, as if he is flying. Now Garuda is also seen along with Vishnu. This is an example of that. You can see that Garuda standing near to Vishnu in Anjali posture. See here that both of them are presented almost in the same size. Garuda is considered as a huge bird, and that huge size is indicated here. In wooden sculptures, generally, besides the wings, you can see the tail also, very stylistically represented tail. In Anantashayana context also, you can see the representation of Garuda. See here, near that feet of Vishnu, you can see the representation of Garuda with the folded hands. Here he stands, he sits again, he sits here with folded hands. This is that mythology or the story of Santana Gopalam represented. That story is related to the death of the children of a Brahmin, and he's seeking the help of the Arjuna. Arjuna tried to help him, but was not possible because that the children of, I think most of you may be knowing that the story of the Santana Gopalam. So that is why I'm not elaborating it. That actually what happened was that the Brahmin's sons were taken to the Vaikuntha by the Vishnu. Krishna was knowing that. That is why that when this Brahmana went to the Krishna and complained about the death of the children, and he's not the children, he was not giving much attention. With a slight smile, he was sitting there without sensitively attending to the complaint of the Brahmana. But at the same time that Arjuna was there along with the Krishna, Arjuna felt very sorry, and he said that I will help you. And he said that take me to your house, and I will guard your wife that while she is giving birth to your son. But unfortunately, what happened was that Arjuna could not prevent the death actually of the son of the Brahmin. Actually, previously that the Brahmins could see, the Brahmin and his wife could see the body of the children that before their death. But what happened was that when Arjuna guarded the birth of that child, they could not even see the body. That was, the body was quickly taken to the Vaikuntha. So that the Brahmin started accusing Arjuna, that he accused that you promised me that you will be looking after and you will be guarding that, and I will get, I thought that I will get my son, but you were unsuccessful. Arjuna took an oath before that Brahmana that if I could not protect your son, then I will set a fire and do the self-immolation. So that when Arjuna was not successful, and when the Brahmana started accusing Arjuna, he lit a fire, Arjuna lit a fire, and he was about to jump into the fire. Then Krishna appeared and told Arjuna that the Brahmin's children are there in the Vaikuntha along with the Anantashaya Vishnu, or that Vishnu. So the Krishna and Arjuna went to Vaikuntha and they saw the children there. In the Vaikuntha, Garuda also was there. So that story is represented here. So in the mythologies which is related to Krishna or Vishnu, you can see the representation of Garuda. And this is another representation of Anantashaya Vishnu. You can see that Garuda here. This is the same one that you can see the Brahmin's children here. Now, Garuda is also seen as the Vahana of Vishnu, the Vishnu riding Garuda. And here, that movement of the Garuda is represented in that Alidhasana posture and the flying of the wings. You can see that here. And the wing is, in this particular sculpture, is represented in different layers. See here that you can see the snakes as the Yagnopavita and the ornaments of Garuda. Another representation, Garuda standing. Just compare the size of Garuda and with that of the Vishnu. He is shown in huge size, and the bird feature is shown with, or the shown in the beak or the protruding lips, then a very prominent nose and the wings. And there is a peculiar kind of representation here, that bird features are very prominent for that Garuda, the wings and the very prominent beak, and he's carrying a pidha on the head, and over which you can see Anantashaya Vishnu. So this is a very rare kind of representation, this combination. And this is a wooden sculpture where that Garuda is shown as the Vahana of Vishnu. Still another representation in wood. This is seen on the pillar, wooden pillar, which is in Kantiur Subramanya temple. Another representation, another kind of representation, the full flying movement is shown in this sculpture with the outstretched wing of Garuda, just to see the face of the Garuda with a protruding beak. And these wings are indicative of that bird feature of Garuda, and the other parts of the body is that of the human being. And he wears, usually in wooden sculptures of Kerala, a Karanda Mukta with the lateral expansion. Still another one, very stylistically represented tail, and wings also are represented very beautifully. You can notice the prominent beak. Just to see that drapery, it is decorated with the design you can see on the drapery. Still another representation, it is from Kasaragod region. So the variations are mainly seen in the depiction of the wings and the tail of the Garuda. Another representation of Vishnu on Garuda flying. This is a peculiar kind of representation, just to see how the flying Garuda is represented, is how the body of the flying Garuda is represented, as if he is swimming in the air. Prominent beak and the wings. Now, in the mythology which is related to Vishnu, like the Gajendra Moksham, you can see the representation of Garuda invariably, because in this mythology, it is mentioned that Garuda came down on Garuda, Vishnu came down on Garuda to help the Gajendra. So that the coming down is represented here with Garuda, extended wings and all. So this is the representation of Gajendra Moksha, in which invariably Garuda is seen as holding, or that as the Vahana of Vishnu. This is another representation of Gajendra Moksha. One is from Kullur, and the another is one from Aravat. See that how Garuda is represented as the Vahana of Vishnu in these two sculptures. Both are in wood. Now, coming to the representation of Garuda's mythology, not the mythology connected with Vishnu. These are this is one example. This shows Garuda killing, or the splitting that abdomen of Jimuta Vahana. Jimuta Vahana, actually, it is believed to be a form of Vishnu, was living in a country, and he was having a very cruel relatives. To get relief from the clutches of the cruel relatives, went to the forest, and once he heard the cry of a lady in the forest, so he went in search of that lady, and he found out that it was a Naga lady, and he asked what is the reason for her grief, and then she said that Garuda is there living there, and every day that one person from the Naga family has to be given to the Garuda. Then Garuda will eat that Naga person. So today it is the turn of my son. So that he is the only son of mine, and I am that very scared to give my son to Garuda. So that Jimuta Vahana felt very sorry, and he disguised as that of the Naga boy and went to Garuda. So Garuda, thinking that it is a Naga boy, he placed the Jimuta Vahana on his lap and started killing, or taking the flesh of the Jimuta Vahana. So that is shown here. And Garuda found out that Jimuta Vahana, even splitting the abdomen, he was not, he was in a pleasant, the Jimuta Vahana was in a pleasant mood. And seeing that, Garuda thought that he may not be a Naga boy, and he suddenly realized, Garuda suddenly realized that the person laying on the lap is not the Naga boy, but it is Vishnu himself. So that he felt remorse, and he pledged that he won't be killing these Nagas later. So this is the story behind the Jimuta Vahana. So that is represented here. So this mythology is very well connected with Garuda himself, So that is shown in this sculpture. It is from Peruvalam Shiva temple, which is located in Thrissur. And there is another one. This sculpture is from Palur Perunthrukovil, which is located in Ernakulam. This shows the story of, the mythology, which gives, or that which says that the Garuda killed and consumed rather an elephant and tortoise. Actually, this elephant and tortoise in the previous birth were two sages, two rishis. Their names were Vibhasu and Supratika. And Vibhasu is an embodiment of anger, and the other one an embodiment of greed. So they were siblings, and they used to quarrel with each other. They had a piece of land, or that ancestral property. And the second one, the brother Supratika wanted to do partition of this ancestral land. And the other ones, the brother Vibhasu was not in favor of that. Vibhavasu rather, he was not in favor of that. So there, and that started a quarrel between the brothers, and they cursed each other. Vibhasu cursed Supratika that you will born in the next birth, you will be born as an elephant, and the brother in turn cursed that you will be born as a tortoise. So in the next birth, they were born as elephant and tortoise. Even in that birth also, they used to quarrel with each other. And Garuda, when he was going to the heaven to get the Amrita, he was feeling very hungry, and he met his father Kashyapa, and Kashyapa told him that you go to this place and get the elephant and the tortoise and kill and eat this elephant and tortoise. Then they will get the moksha also. So that you can see that is represented here, Garuda carrying an elephant and tortoise in the hand. So these kind of, in the mythological context also, you see Garuda. He is shown with very prominent beak and the wings in this sculpture. And these are some of the representations of the Garuda in different, Garuda presentation in different contexts, which are seen in the temples of Kerala. Now, let me conclude my presentation with the following observations. Sculptures of Garuda are seen in Kerala as round ones or as reliefs on the wooden or stone pillars of temples and on Sri Kovil walls. Garuda is observed alone or with Vishnu or carrying Vishnu. He is depicted rarely in mythological narrations in Kerala. Generally, he is shown as individual sculpture or with Vishnu. He is shown in sthanaka, asana, or flying postures. Garuda is always represented with human body. He is depicted with 2 or 4 hands. 2-handed are the most common. Hands are shown either in Anjali Mudra or raised and flexed at elbow. When 4-handed, the upper 2 hands carry Shankha and Chakra, which is indicative of his Vaishnavite lineage. He is normally presented with human face. The face is depicted with prominent long beak or protruding lips to emphasize his hybrid character. He is shown with round goggled eyes in almost all sculptures. In Kerala, he is always sculpted with wings. Wings can be outstretched, layered, or closed. Feathers are depicted as natural or stylistic. In a few sculptures, the chest is also shown with the feathers. Wooden sculptures are distinct from stone sculptures by the presence of long tail wings. And these are some of the ornaments usually seen in the Garuda sculptures of Kerala. In some of the sculptures, he is shown with Naga ornaments. And lastly, my observation is that what make the Garuda sculptures of Kerala distinct from other parts of India are the predominant occurrence of individual sculptures, much more than that of the contextual narrations, like that of seen in that Garuda mythology and the mythologies related to Vishnu. The remarkable diversity observed in the intricate depiction of the wings of Garuda. And with that, I end my presentation. Thank you.